internal combustion engines. Right now, I'm driving a Toyota Prius. And I'm not getting very good gas mileage because I live way out in the country, and we have to drive at pretty high speeds for long distances on state highways, and so I'm only getting 42, 44 miles a gallon. People are getting better than that in the cities because these hybrids have these four electrical motors, and when you are idling or when you are stopping and starting inside city limits, you run off these batteries, and you don't use gasoline. And, of course, they call it a hybrid because it is a hybrid. It's an intermediary step. There's no reason why people who live in the inner city and only travel a certain distance, back and forth to work or go to the store or whatever, there's no reason they shouldn't be running an electric car.
Well, and these automobile industry companies that are trying to get this $25 billion from the government, from us, they have to come up with some kind of plan. And I think that if they're going to be given $25 billion, that plan must include going into this alternative energy source for cars. That's what they should be using this money for.
Well, those big car companies have only themselves to blame. There were plenty of people, starting with the Volkswagen, going back to the little Mazdas, going back to the Chevette. The car companies tried making small cars that were fuel efficient, and they wouldn't promote them.
Have you seen the compressed air car that is over there in India and France? I want to do a show on that. I think this is remarkable.
They just run on compressed air.
Yeah.
Well,
and those are great for the city. If you're going to just bop around town in a 25, 30-mile radius, a lot of people don't go any farther than that, Jim. They just stick around town. Those cars would be great.
Well, I'll go you one better than that, George. I mean, we have another problem along with pollution and the high price of gasoline, and that is everybody in this country is overweight, right? And we have a real problem with people being out of shape, overweight.
True.
So my idea is, why don't all the big cities invest in cheap but sound bicycles and leave them lying around all over the place? So people just get on a bicycle, go where they want to go, lean against the wall, and go on off. And then when they're ready to go home, come out, find one leaning against the wall somewhere, pick it up, pedal home. And if you're not going too far, not only are you not burning any fuel, but you're burning a lot of energy, and you're going to be trimmer, healthier. It takes care of two problems with one stroke.
Jim, we just did 5 shows for the Sci-Fi Network, and we taped them many months ago. But in the process of taping them, they had to change some of the opens and intros going into commercials. And so we had to retape some of the segments. Mm-hmm. And in the process of the months in between, before the show went on the air, I had gone into a massive workout kick. Never been overweight, but I wanted to drop 10 pounds. Television adds 10 pounds to you anyways.
Right.
So I wanted to drop 10 real pounds, and I went back into this workout kick. And so I went back on camera a few weeks ago for the reshoots, and they compared it to the other me, and they went,
"You look different."
Oh, my God, these are two different people. Where is he? And so what they
say, George, you got to go out and eat.
Yeah. So what they did, they electronically tried to make me fatter on the second takes. Wow. It's amazing.
Simple things that people could do to be in shape. I'll freely admit, I just have not got the time or the self-discipline to get into an exercise routine, So
how old are you, Jim?
I find ways to do this. For example, when I worked for the Star-Telegram, the editorial offices were on the 3rd floor. So I would simply, unless I was in a rush, I never took the elevator. I climbed the stairs.
That's
I go
good.
up and down those stairs, and I go up and down those stairs maybe a dozen times a day. And, that's getting some pretty good exercise.
It sure is. How old are you now?
I'm sorry?
How old are you? Do you ever reveal that to anybody?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I actually have to stop and think about it. In about a week, I'll be 65.
Good for you.
And you know what? all my life, I was told that if you hit 65, that's retirement age, you can start drawing Social Security. And I'll be damned, about 2 months ago, I didn't get a letter from the government, and they said official retirement age is now 66.
That's right.
So, and I feel pretty strongly that next year I'll get a letter, and it says the retirement age now to get your full Social Security has been moved up to 67. They're going to just keep it 1 year out of my reach.
You'll never be able to get it. And I think at 66 you can still work and make money and collect your Social Security. But you're right. They keep pushing it a year away from you.
That's right. Of course, I'm used to that. Maybe this is where I kind of got a slight anti-government bias. I went to work when I was 13 years old, and I went to work for a grocery store. I was making 50 cents an hour, and I worked hard. I applied myself, and the next thing you know, I was making 75 cents an hour because I got a raise because I was doing good work. And then the next thing I know, they came in and instituted the minimum wage, and the minimum wage was 75 cents an hour. And all of a sudden, my bonus that I got for being a good employee was wiped out because everybody made 75 cents an hour.
Jeez.
And it's been like that ever since.
Hey, Jimmy, where do you get this book, Above Top Secret?
Above Top Secret, you bet. Any bookstore. You can also, I'm sure, order it off the Above Top Secret website. You can get it off of my website, jimmars.com, and off, of course, Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. And I want to tell you, this is you've got a copy, George. Isn't it neat looking?
It is. It looks like
corners.
It's a little briefcase.
Yeah, it's a little briefcase. It's got rounded corners. It's got a lot of open space and a lot of bullets and, little indented things. It's a really fun, easy read.
It really is. And, I'm 3/4 of the way through it because I got it today back in St. Louis. After we're done, I'm going to read the rest and just sit back and chill this weekend and have some fun with this after Thanksgiving. We're going to be live at Thanksgiving night. What passed by the Space Shuttle Atlantis, Jimmy?
Well, they tried to say it was several different things, but I think the bald-faced fact is nobody knows for sure. It was just one other incident of several, most of which are not covered in the book because of space considerations, but where the astronauts have reported seeing things flying around, and then they try to come back retroactively and say, oh, well, it could have been a booster stage, it could have been this, could have been that. Well, sure, it could have been any number of things, but what was it? Well, George, I got a question for you. Now, since you're about halfway through this book, and since you're probably, of all the people I can think of, of everyone is probably pretty familiar with most of these topics, but are you finding things in there that pique your interest and that maybe give you a little bit more information?
All of them. I mean, first of all, a Nazi base in Antarctica.
Sounds incredible to you.
I love it.
Facts.
I love it all. Is God an alien? I mean, that's a home run thing. I mean, I've got my own views, so do you, but I mean, It's a great question. I want to talk with you a little bit later when we come back to about 2012, because you even addressed that.
That's right. What's going to happen in 2012? And again, I don't want anybody to get the idea that you're going to get a definitive answer out of Above Top Secret. But what you're going to do is get a pretty, I would hope, a balanced view of what the issue is. And then you can start thinking about it and think about, well, what is going to happen in 2012?
Jim, your research is incredible. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt threatened because of the places you go to try to get the answers?
Well, if I have, I've been too dumb and naive to recognize it. I will say that I think the only time I can remember in my entire career that I was overtly threatened was by an associate of Jack Ruby's. And I met him at his invitation at a restaurant one night, and he forgot a cardinal rule of dealing with the media, which is when you deal with the media, you say, can this be off the record?
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit more about that when we come back. Plus now in our phone calls with Jim Mars, because in an hour we're going live to Egypt with Dr. Zahi Hawass. We started Jim Mars early, so we're going to use your phone calls next on Coast to Coast AM. Well, tomorrow for you Streamlink members, 8 p.m. Pacific time now, get in the room for the Streamlink chat Our guest chatter tomorrow, Ian Punnett. So pop on in and chat with Ian before Thanksgiving. Back with Jim Mars and your phone calls for the next hour. Jim, tell me a little bit